The Detroit Lions are back home for the first time this month as they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The last time the Detroit Lions were at home was all the way back in September. Monday Night Football is going to be the last game of Week 7, and the Detroit Lions are looking to keep the streak alive of not losing 2 games in a row since October of 2022. October in 2022 goes all the way back to the loss against the last time the Detroit Lions lost 2 in a row. It led to the defensive back coach, Aubrey Pleasant, being fired. That's how long ago that was, that the Detroit Lions had just come off that they were 1-6. They had lost the game to the Miami Dolphins. From that point on, wind up going 8-2, finishing the season 9-8. And on a tiebreaker to Seattle, needed the Rams to beat the Seattle Seahawks to make the Seahawks 8-9 for the Detroit Lions to make the playoffs. They wind up having the same record as the Rams, as the Seahawks, and the Seahawks, because of the tiebreaker, go to the playoffs. Now, they got bounced out the first round. The Detroit Lions probably would have made some noise in that playoff series, in that playoff push, but they didn't have what it took back then. But now we are a Super Bowl contending team. And in the past 3 years, we're talking about almost as a matter of fact, over 1,000 days since the Detroit Lions have lost back-to-back games. They always come out and perform, and we're going to be at home, and that crowd is going to be crazy, the same way it was against the Cleveland Browns, so that should be entertaining. So we'll talk about who wins that game in a few days, but the Detroit Lions defense has to rebound from their performance against the Kansas City Chiefs. So we've been doing a series. It's called the Detroit Lions Defensive Rank, and we started this series way back in 2024 when it came to just keeping track of the defense, because I think that defense wins championships. And I think, you know me, I think it's going to come down to the pass rush, specifically the defensive end, that is going to help us reach and win our first Super Bowl. But we'll see about that. So we've been keeping an eye on the defense. And what we do is we look at the defense we compare it from this week to the previous week. So we're going into Week 7. So we're going to look at how the defense did through Week 6. And then we're going to compare it to what we did the week before, which is Week 5. All right, so here is what the Detroit Lions defense was after the Cincinnati Bengal game going into the Kansas City Chiefs game. This is the second time we broke the top 10 at the time. We were in total defense, we were 8th. Now, I feel like I have to keep reminding you that the NFL ranks total defense by yards allowed. It should be points, in my opinion, because points make sense, but total yards allowed is how they compile defense. So we were 8th, which we allowed 298 yards per game. Passing, we were 12th. We allowed 206.6. Rushing, we were 7th. We allowed 92.2. Sacks, the number everybody was going crazy about. Oh, we're second in the NFL in sacks. Well, you're going to get a rude awakening this week. Second, we had 16 on the season. Points per game, we were 16th. We allowed 22.4. And turnover differential, we were third. We were +6. Now, for the first time this season, we had a all green arrow a couple weeks ago after Week 4 heading into Week 5. For the first time this season, we have all down arrows. But the Detroit Lions, even after that loss to Kansas City, remained in the top 10. So now this ranks out of 6 games. The Detroit Lions have been top 10 now at 10, 9, and 8, respectively. So we have hovered around. So for half the games, we've been in the top 10, which is great. It's more than we can say, I think, at any point under Aaron Glenn when it came to the totality of the season. Remember back in 2022 when we went on that run, it was historic. We went from allowing the most points in the league historically to now one of the best defenses on the back half. But it was so bad. Those first 7 games were so bad that we couldn't make up for it at the end of the season. So the Detroit Lions, our total defense ranked 9th, down 1 spot, allowing 308.2 yards. Passing, 14th, down 2 spots, allowing 212.7 yards. Rushing, down 4 spots, which is 11th, allowing 95.5 yards per game. Sacks, everybody, my favorite number, but everybody, we're going to be down 2 spots from 2 to 4 with 19. Now, to put that in perspective, do you know who leads the league in sacks and how many they lead by. I'll give you a minute to put it in the comment section. Don't go cheap. Who leads the NFL in sacks? How many is it? And how many more is it than the next closest team? Your answer should be the Denver Broncos. They have 30 sacks. The next closest team has 20. Your Detroit Lions sit at 19. So they're tied for, I think they're fourth now. So there's a 10-sack gap between team number 1 and team number 2. So the Detroit Lions got 3, 1 in garbage time with Al-Qadim Muhammad, all love. But otherwise, that would have been the 3rd consecutive game that he didn't get a sack. All right, so he now sits at 4.5 on the season. He is the 2nd leading sacker under Aiden, who has 6 and 1 in garbage time. Points per game, the Detroit Lions are 17th, down 1 spot, allowing 23.7 points per game, and turnover differential, 4th, down 1 spot with +6. And if you notice here, they did not get a turnover the previous game against the Kansas City Chiefs. That was one of the reasons that we were unable to pull that game off when all was said and done. You know what the other ones are, and because we are in a new league week, I do not want to talk about it anymore. I did see some stuff today about the NFL and the call and all that stuff, and I was like, you know what? I was tempted to talk about it, but I said, Derek, we are halfway to Tampa Bay. We got to focus on Tampa Bay. So for the Detroit Lions, for the first time this season, they have had all down arrows. We did have a previous all up arrows. Again, week 4, I think it was week 3 or week 4 going into week 5. This was the opposite. So before we look at the comparisons for the last couple of slots or stats, it's still a good sign. Overall, this is still a good sign. And this is with to only drop a few. Like if you look at this again, we've only dropped, the biggest drop of the week was rushing defense. And, we dropped 2 from passing, and that's losing our starting corners. This was the first game that both the corners were out. 2 weeks ago against the Cleveland Browns, I believe we lost. That's when we lost DJ Reed. And then we lost Terrion Arnold for half the game against the Bengals. And this was the first game. So to not drop that far is pretty substantial. It really is. But again, the Detroit Lions remain top 10. So for half the games that we've played, we've been in the top 10, 8, 9, and 10 respectively. Last week, we were 11. So we've been in the top 15 for, I want to say, at least 4 to 5 games, and we've been in the top 10 for 3 of those games. So the Detroit Lions are right there. They're right there. They just need that one thing. And of course, health is always a valuable thing. Got to have it. But that's why if I truly think that you guys, you like, I enjoy talking about the pass rush. I do. It's my favorite thing on the field. And I think that it is the key. That is why I mention it so much. It is the key. If we could just get, like, we take so many hits. Last year was the D-line. We lost our elite pass rusher. We had the mystery. Like, our team is already the mystery man for the most part. And if we just had that opposite Aiden, that consistent pass rusher opposite Aiden, then I think that would be what took us over the hump. Then we're going to get Terrion Arnold back, and then we're going to get DJ Reed back. Kirby Joseph will eventually heal up, and Brian Branch will be off suspension. All of a sudden, now we're really, really top 7, 6, 5. Like, we could crack top 5. And then Aleem McNeil is also coming back. Dan Campbell said, barring anything significant, he was like, Aleem's freaking playing, man, this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I actually thought he was not going to play. It's surprising that the Detroit Lions are going to activate him prior to the bye week because they're always extra cautious with their players. So, the red is disappointing. It really is. And you guys know how I feel about sacks. I think that the sacks, the sack stats were, even if you look at the Denver Broncos are not as, to me, a good of a team as us. But that's only because their offense is wishy-washy. If they had the offense that we had, I don't think anybody could beat them. They might go 17-0. That's how good their defense, that's how much they get to the quarterback, right? So let's take a look at the comparisons, the last 3 categories that we usually look up from 10, 20 minutes, and then we look at the whole thing when we do our preview on Fridays. Third down defense. The Detroit Lions were top 10, top 5 in both of these categories last year. if I remember correctly. Third down defense, we are ranked 20th now with 40.6%. Red zone efficiency, we were great. We were great in the red zone. We are now bottom third of the league in red zone efficiency, which means that 66% of the time, teams score. Right? So the Detroit Lions, man, and takeaways, the Detroit Lions didn't get any 9, which is tied for 5th. Turnovers are a big deal. They are free possessions for the offense, and they allow you to put points on the board. So the Lions, again, if they can get players back, and I know that I give this guy a hard time, but I'm trying to win the Super Bowl. And if bodies help us do that, I mean, you could call Kendall Vildor a body, right? Now, Kendall Vildor is on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so he's going to wind up a revenge game for him, right? Coming, even though that's not the thing. But I'm about winning. All I care about is winning it all. That's it. And if anybody, when I speak about bodies, anybody that can help us get there is what I'm willing to do. So Marcus Davenport is not ready to come off IR just yet. I look for him to return in December. That's what I look for. So again, you got his 21-day window. So the Detroit Lions, remember when it comes to injured reserve, one thing that I've noticed, if you pay attention and you watch and you follow, the Lions every day like I do, even when there's no football, they have a pattern. And that pattern is if you go to IR, your 21-day window opens and you don't ever play that week. The only time that happened was that I recall was Ife Melifonwu, but that was because it was his second stint on IR, and it was something they just wanted to kind of watch, but they wanted to create a roster spot. But it's one of them things like he could have been good within 2 or 3 weeks, not a lot of prep time he needed. He actually was his 21-day window open, and then he wound up playing like the next week, like that very Sunday after his window was open, he wound up playing. So when it comes to our DJ Reed or anybody else that's on Marcus Davenport, when you hear the 21-day window opens, so you can just add 3 weeks to that. So Davenport, he's not ready to come off IR. I just heard today Khalil Mack with that dislocated elbow, his 21-day window started. So that means that the Chargers have 3 weeks to make or break Khalil Mack and his season. So with the Detroit Lions, Aleem McNeil, don't forget, you can be like he's going to play, so he's going to have to get moved to the active roster. But the 21-day window can be open. He can come off IR and be put on the active roster, but still not play. So Davenport, DJ Reed are 21 days out from whenever their window is announced. That's how far we're talking. So even though it's October 15th, I don't expect to see Marcus Davenport until December at the earliest. I don't expect to see DJ Reed until December at the earliest, because actually Marcus Davenport is ready to come off IR, is eligible to come off IR. He went after the Bears game. We had the Baltimore Ravens. We had the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals. And after this game with the Chiefs, he was eligible to come off. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you still the same on the defense as you were last week? Are you less confident? Are you more confident? Or what do you feel? For me, it's always going to come down to an edge rusher. It really is. I know y'all get sick of hearing it, man, but it always is going to come down to an edge rusher because they are the key. They are the key. That not only just the edge rusher, but that defensive line. And the fact that our defensive tackles have no sacks after 6 games, not a 1 sack. Lopez, Reeder, Tyleek, none of them have a sack. All the sacks on the D-line have come from the edge and a total of 3 guys. Davenport, Al-Quadin Muhammad, and Aiden Hutchinson with 6, 4.5, and 1. And I love that. But the interior, 0. They have no sacks at all. Not even DJ Reeder good for 3.5. Aleem McNeil is a 7.5 sack guy. When he got paid, he got 7. That is extraordinary for a defensive tackle. So he's going to come back, and we'll see how that changes things. The good news is that the trade deadline is 20 days away, or 19 days away. It's 19 days away. In the meantime, the Detroit Lions only have 2 games. We have this game here, and then we have the game against right before the trade deadline, the game at home against the Minnesota Vikings. The Detroit Lions are going to see what they need. Aleem McNeil, and maybe that's one reason that Dan wants to play him, because we need to know what we need. But the fact that Marcus Davenport will not be back, he will not be back by the trade deadline. The Detroit Lions, I don't think they're going to do anything, but they may. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We got a video to make because there's a something we need to talk about. And of course, it's got to do with the pass rush. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. It's because of your support I get to do what I do. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. If you didn't hear, I am no longer driving to games over 5 hours one way. That was my last trip doing that. So if I cannot afford to go to a game, I will be streaming it from the house. I already have my tickets to my airfare to the Washington Commanders game and the Philadelphia Eagles, 2 stadiums I haven't been to. I wanted to go to both LA and Minnesota again in December, but the funds, I've already been there. So if the funds don't align, then I will be at the crib. All right. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.